Uh, yeah. Hey, this is Danielle from Black Business Boom in Black Owned Nashville, and I am here with our industry expert in all things nonprofit. I'm really excited to have Cathy here. Last month, we dove into some steps that you need to take when you're preparing for your nonprofit. When you got an idea and you're like, hey, I think I want to do this nonprofit. Those were 3 steps you needed to take before even doing the paperwork. And so today we're going to start to dive a little bit deeper into this and go into some of the follow-up steps when you're actually getting that paperwork together and getting ready to file and actually making your nonprofit real, trying to get it approved, all of those things. So welcome, Cathy. How are you
Thank
today?
you. I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am fantastic. Excited to have you. I think this is going to be great information because I've gone through this process. It was not easy trying to figure out all of these steps myself. And Google was my best friend, but luckily we now have you as our industry expert in nonprofit. And I'm just excited to dive on in. So, Cathy, let's go ahead, kick it off and tell
All
us
right.
what do we need to know after we've taken those first 3 steps. So if you
Yep.
haven't listened to that video, go back and catch those first 3 steps and then pick up here with the next 3 steps.
Yes.
Go ahead, Cathy.
And
Take
I
it
and I'm
away.
going to cheat a little bit because I'm going to name one of the steps was from the last time,
Okay.
but it is part of this, and that is look trying to get the grammar straight. Articles of incorporation and the bylaws, because those are things that you're going to have to file as well. So definitely making sure articles of incorporation, they can be
Yeah.
just as basic as you need to be, including those board members, specifically the positions of president, vice president, secretary, and the treasurer. Those definitely need to be on paper so you
Yeah.
can file those. So
Yes.
that's
So if you
that's the
missed
cheat
that
in one
last
step.
time, make
Mm-hmm.
sure you start there and
Yep.
having
Yep.
all that paperwork together and having a
Yep.
good board of directors. We talked about that
Yes.
that'll actually do stuff.
Yes. And not the whole family.
Yeah.
All right. And then we'll just go right into two is you'd have to file with your state. Now I have to be careful. Usually I will say Secretary of State, but I notice places like I think North Carolina and Michigan, and there's probably more, it's the Attorney General. So whatever it is in your state where you file for a corporation, that's where you would file for the nonprofit corporation as well.
That is great information. So, to be clear, a nonprofit organization has to be registered as a corporation. It
Yes.
is a corporation, just like we talk about LLCs and getting them in S corps and things. You have to register your nonprofit organization as a corporation. It is a business.
It is a business.
Yes.
That's a good
So,
t-shirt.
yeah.
All things nonprofit. It is a
It is a
business.
business. And I think that's the important part because a lot of people get confused and they think they can't make money, they think they
Right.
can't sell services. They're all about the impact, which we are all about the impact. And of course, your nonprofit wants to be should be mission driven and about making impact,
Exactly.
but you can and should be making money. It is a business and therefore must be registered with your state as such.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right. So once you get
All
those,
right.
get that paperwork together, get your bylaws, your articles of incorporation, then you need to go on head over to the Secretary of State if you have that in your state or Attorney General and get that paperwork filed with them. And that's usually a fairly simple,
It
quick
is.
when it comes to that's one of the faster processes. I'll,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll say part of the process versus like the IRS, which is a whole different
Right. And I will
thing.
say be careful because there are some questions, even on for the state of Tennessee, that have changed. And if you check certain things, it's wrong. Like there's a mutual benefit
Mm.
and then there's a public benefit. Just remember everything for the nonprofit is considered public unless you're not doing the one for charity that's considered public charity. Because you do
Mm.
have your foundations, you have your private, you have your social type of
Mm.
organizations. So again, a reason for having the expert. If you don't know, you definitely want to, before you answer that question, even call them and ask them what that means.
That's
Um,
what I was going to ask you. Like at
mhm,
this point, like while it, when people are filing their LLCs, a lot of times they'll get someone to help them with that
mhm.
process. Would you suggest at this point that someone has a person that helps them with this process and walks them through getting it filed with their state?
And I get it about money, but
Mhm.
I will say you just cannot beat experience. And
Yeah.
those little things I've had to go behind and correct. And sometimes it comes in, it means more money, or, it's you don't get the funding because you filed something incorrectly. One little check mark. So
Mhm.
it depends on, how, I don't know, a lot of us are knowledgeable, but
But it's
I
not
wouldn't be the
your
one to
field of
sit there to say,
expertise.
yeah,
I am all about paying people for what they're expert in.
yeah,
So, and I'll tell you, a lot of us business owners have spent so many years trying to do all of the things ourselves
yes, we do.
because it's cheaper,
It is.
seemingly.
In the
But the
beginning.
time that you spend doing
Mhm,
it, like when you look at like what does it cost for an hour of your time
mhm,
versus, and you're sitting here spending 10 hours trying to file paperwork because you Googling and going back and forth trying to ask
mhm.
somebody this. And now, if your hour is worth $100, now that's $1,000 down the drain that you could have been spending making money versus
Absolutely.
trying to figure out how to file paperwork. It is definitely a mindset shift as a business
Mhm,
owner to decide I'm just going to go and pay the people who know what they're doing and can
mhm.
get this done for me, get it done fast and get it done right. But it's so important that we start to make that shift because
It
we
is.
cannot be experts in everything. Our
Right.
time is valuable and we should be using our time to work as CEOs, if especially
Yeah.
if that's your title, and that doesn't mean doing everything in your business. So I know we've gotten off track, but but
No,
I
that's
think
part
it's
of it. No.
really important,
Yeah.
especially, I mean, you're starting a nonprofit organization. You cannot be everything and you should not be everything for that organization. So finding the right people. So even if it's when you're building your board, getting an attorney, to be part of your board or getting someone who has experience in nonprofits and has done this before as part of your board might be a strategic move on your part because they can help you to get the paperwork filed.
Right.
Like,
Right.
so we can be strategic in building our team, and it doesn't always mean spending a whole lot of money. But
Exactly.
we paid someone to get our paperwork filed last year and didn't handle any of it ourselves. Um, that was interesting. That was an interesting experience, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I will also say be very careful about who you work with and make sure
Right.
that they are truly experts in what they're
Yeah.
doing and knowledgeable. And we have the right to interview the people who we are hiring before we cut the check. So,
And
all
we
right.
and I know, but I want to say too, even on that with experts, one of the things we think is that we're going to pay for something and leave it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying that's your case, but in
No,
many
yeah.
cases, we have to hold accountable. So we do it as a team, not as one person. So a lot of people say I explain too much, but it's on you if you didn't pay attention to me. It's on you that you didn't look at your email to see that I sent you the paperwork and I asked for certain things. But at the end of the day, it has to be that team approach. Even if you have an
Yeah.
accountant do some things or attorney, you still need to know what they're doing and why they're doing it. So that's
Absolutely. And again,
important.
as that CEO, as that director, whatever,
Yeah,
it's your responsibility to follow up and be in the know in what's going on in your company and hold
hmm,
these people accountable because you are paying them. So it's
exactly.
not as simple as this person. Everybody's saying they're an expert in something these days. And
Right.
so we have to be very careful about who we are investing
Yeah,
our money in.
we do.
And there are lots of ways that we can do that. But again, it's up to us once we do write the check, once we do send the payment, that
Mhm.
we are holding that person accountable to getting the work done for
Mhm.
us and providing them what they need to be able to get the job done. Because
Whew, can't say that enough.
that's been,
Give
I
me what I
mean,
need.
exactly. I mean, that's
Yeah.
the thing. A lot of times we're like, I'm just going to hire this person to do it, but we don't realize it's a process and it's back and forth. Like when we work
Mhm.
with marketing clients, we're like, I need you to set up this, that, and the other. You need to have these accounts set up. You need to send me logins. It's a collaboration. It's a team
It
effort.
is.
So
It
I
is.
think it's important that we do find ways to delegate, that we find ways to build our
Mhm.
team, but that we're careful in doing that as well.
Right.
But Cathy knows what
That
she's
leads to
doing, and
yeah.
I vouch for Cathy.
Well, thank you very
So.
much. And the next that will lead into, and this is probably why it's important when you ask the question, could a person do that state level? They could, but what I have found is important to do have one person do all of them, or you again need to make sure you supply the right information. But that EIN number or employer identification number, whatever you refer to it as, and that is through the IRS. We do not want to use it is a unique identifier. So we do not want to take our for-profit business and say, oh, I'm just going to do this nonprofit. I already have an EIN number.
Mm.
No. And I will say when you if you've never done the application, unless which I for my people I will my clients I will save that document so they can see the application, but a lot of people will not, and they just give you the letter that comes from the IRS that shows your EIN number. But there's areas in there that talks about what kind of nonprofit that or the mission that you're doing, and there's
Mm-hmm.
probably I know it's close to like 400 or 500 codes. It might be more than that you would put in there. So if it's youth, it says there's several codes under
Mm-hmm.
youth. There's several codes under homelessness. There,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you have to choose that, and believe it
Uh,
or not, that makes a difference too.
mm. So
Sometimes,
when you're going and registering for that EIN, making sure that what you're choosing for
yep,
that aligns with what's going in the paperwork.
yep, yep,
Didn't think about
yep.
that.
Because all that needs to match when you go for grants, especially when you
Yeah,
start getting into government grants.
that's is
Mhm.
that the NAICS codes, the
It's
codes,
not.
or is
I
that this is
forgot
a
what they're
different?
called. They're not. They're not
This is a
even
different.
related like that. And I don't even know how they're always picked up. But I know a
Mm,
lot of times in government grants, it is picked up.
okay, and
Yeah.
they're like there's a mismatch
Yeah.
somewhere.
There's a mismatch.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even
Oh.
if you have to call the IRS, say you're changing or you're expanding your,
Hmm. Yeah.
you call them and let them know. I know some
Okay.
people that are doing international, and you should call them for any changes like that, and they'll tell you what to do. Mm-hmm.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
good to
And
know.
see, even
All
I evolve and learn because some of these tips that I give are just as I get clients and I
right.
run into
Hmm.
roadblocks. Then I find
Yeah.
out more.
And that's an important part of life, ain't it?
Yes,
Right? We
yes.
learn all these things by
And let's not
experience.
all do those bumps in the road. If
But
I
it's
did them, let's
so,
let you skip them.
yes, it's so great that you come and you give us this information, and it's based on real experiences,
Hmm.
based on things that have actually really happened for clients. And you are coming and are giving our community this information. These little things
Right.
can make a huge difference. And I swear to you, like if you can get this paperwork right the first time, you're
Yes.
gonna save yourself a lot of heartache, because we've been trying to get it corrected for a year.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
a year. Like not, I'm not exaggerating. It's so if you can get this right the first time, it will
Yeah.
save you time and money, and having to go back and redo it and research and find somebody to help you to fix it
Hmm.
and all that. So
Hmm.
that is a great one. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for that one,
Yeah.
Cathy.
And so our next one would be the actual, what we say, the bear, the IRS, the 1023 form for most of us. It can be done easy. It can be done, which is digital.
Mhm.
I think they even now make there's a long form that is digital too. And then you still can submit the paperwork, which is the
Mhm.
long form. So anywhere from 450 to, I think it's 850 for the long form.
Mhm.
And we won't get into when, but it tells you
Yeah.
clear as day when you can pay for the short, when you can have to pay for the long, and if you get it wrong, they will call you.
Yeah, I was like, oh God, somebody was like, well, are you
Mhm.
doing the easy? Are you doing the regular? I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, but it's based on the revenue that you're expecting,
It is,
right?
and
So,
and so it's based on the revenue that you're expecting. But I always give the background of me opening a group home, and that was in like 91, 92. Um, it was everything was on paper, and they called back. So even if you say you're gonna make, I think 10,000 is the cap. You're gonna
mm,
make less than 10,000 in a 3-year period. If it's something that makes money, they will go ahead and have you do the long form. Because for me, I
okay.
know if I have one client, I'm going to at least get back then $500 a month. So you
Hmm.
add that up over 3 years,
Yeah.
he's gonna, yeah, they know I was gonna have more than one client. So,
Okay. And so
mhm,
doing the easy form, I've gone through that process and it's still this is where I really was like, yeah, let me pay somebody because
mhm.
there are all these little questions and you're like, I don't know. Like
Right.
yes,
And
no.
sometimes you say too much.
Yeah, you're
Sometimes you
right.
didn't count the characters. I mean, all of those little details, and you get frustrated why you get rejected, even the start of it.
Yeah, yeah. Are there any tips you can give us on actually completing that form? Any little things that we
Keep it
definitely should look at?
simple. Keep it simple and read, read, read. If it's asking you for the activities, there is a part where you do want to give as much as possible, like how you're going to market, what activities, your brochures, your all of that. There's an extra paper that you can add to it.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to summarize it as much as possible, what you're going to do, or as far as just that
Yeah,
overall activity. You want
yeah.
to show that. So I guess I don't even know what the main reason, because I've never had one rejected.
Well, that's what I was literally about to ask you. What are some of the things that you've seen folks rejected for?
I go behind others, and usually they just didn't answer it right. There's one that it has to kind of do with your bylaws, and you have to have a specific statement in there. So if you're not showing this for charitable reasons, and I'm good at that, I'll repeat what they asked for sometime, as long as
Mm-hmm.
I don't run out of space.
Space, yeah.
And then you put
Character.
in what your mission is. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't do too
Yeah,
much
I
extra.
will say, I'm not sure why we were denied, but
Hmm.
I'm not sure what else they were asking for. Let me say that because
Yeah.
they started to send letters asking for additional things for some reason.
Hmm.
And there was an issue with the address or something. We weren't getting them. And because we weren't responding with what they were asking for, they
Hmm.
ended up denying us. So I will say, make sure that you're keeping up with your mail and that address
Hmm.
that you put on your application is a good address that you can
And
actually reach that you're
everything
checking.
matches. Yes.
Yes, everything matches, that you're checking your mail, that you're responding in a timely manner. So a lot of these things are just like common sense,
Hmm.
but not really, And
Right.
so, if you're using your mama's house, as the address, or even if you rent a mailbox or something, but you don't check it very often,
Hmm.
and that letter goes there and it's sitting there, and then it times out, and then you've
Right.
gotten denied, and you'll have to start that whole process over again.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's really about being meticulous, and which is I think another reason to just have someone else either prepare for you, but if you don't do that, at least having a professional to review it for you.
Yes. Yes.
So sometimes folks are concerned about the cost and they're like, I feel like I could do this for myself,
Hmm.
but there is value in at least asking someone like Cathy, can I pay you to review this
Hmm.
for me and see if I missed anything, see if my answers look good, if they were too long. She's been doing this, she's been
Yeah.
getting these approved, she can give you some tips on actually getting your application through. So I think that's an important part, that even if you're not paying someone to prepare all of this for
Mhm.
you, if you can get someone to review it
Mhm.
for you, I would highly suggest that you do
Right.
that for sure. Anything else you want us to make sure we're doing, Cathy?
That, while you're talking about that address, something came up in my mind because this is something somewhat new. Um, yeah. So making sure that we said everything matches, but it does say you cannot use a post office box. So if you're using a post office box or a mailbox, make sure that that is in your mailing address part. But I mean, if you're doing it out of your home, go ahead and do that. Quit worrying about somebody finding you and all of that, or get an office space,
Yeah.
because that matters too. And it can hurt you because when you get grants, as someone wondered why they couldn't get a certain grant, but their address was located in a very, let's say the average income was 132,000.
Mm.
You're not going to get that kind of grant for those people. You have to show that you're doing the work in the community in which you serve.
Oh, now that's a point, Cathy. That's important.
Hmm.
Like, that is very important. Is where your business, what the address is, where it's registered, because that I've been asked on every grant
Hmm.
application,
Yep.
and a lot of the things that we'll do if they're government involved, they'll ask, "Are you in a hub zone?" Or
Right.
like, "Are you in a disadvantaged neighborhood?" Things like that.
Hmm.
So even being considerate, being and caring about what address you do use
Yes.
is very important. If you are in a fancy high-end neighborhood and you're trying to help disadvantaged youth in North Nashville,
Right.
it might be to your advantage to get some sort of office space or something in that area, because they
Hmm.
will look at the median income in the area to determine if you qualify for things. That's a great point. So
Yeah.
think about what addresses you're going to use before you even start this paperwork. I
Exactly.
love it. This was fantastic. Every time I learn some things, and I'm sure everyone tuning in learns some things as well. And it's just like all these little things
Hmm.
that we have to be cognizant of as, business owners, as nonprofit directors. We have to know these little things, and many times we're rushing. So
Hmm.
I hope that these tips are helping folks to kind of take a step back and do things the right way. That was really
Hmm.
why I felt like it was important to have Cathy as part of our industry expert team, because I know there's so many people who really want to make impact,
Yeah.
and we don't know where to start and how to really go and actually do this the right way. And folks are promising us that they can do this and just pay them $1,200 and they'll do this and just pay this, and we, even if you're going to find someone to help you, which I hope that we will, and Cathy, I hope will be that person for you guys. But now you know some things to look for. I think
Yeah.
that it's important that we know what to look for. Like sometimes we're so quick to want to outsource, delegate, find someone to be on our team to help us with certain things, and we don't know what some of the things are that we should be looking for to follow up to make sure they know what they're doing. So
Exactly.
if nothing else, I hope that this is helping folks to understand what those things are that they should be looking for if they're going to do it themselves or if they hire someone else. So this was
Hmm.
fantastic. Thank you so much, Cathy, for
You're
coming with some
welcome.
more tips. I think next month we'll dive a little bit more into these
Okay.
things, and we're just going to keep on coming back and educating the community. But in the meantime, I want to make sure that if you are actively looking to start a nonprofit, if you are in the process, if you have a nonprofit, that you know that Cathy is a resource for our community, and she can be found at beawareandempower.com. And then
Hmm.
also IamGrantReady.com. You can go and download Cathy's checklist that'll help you with all these things as you prepare to launch your nonprofit. So make sure you go and visit beawareandempower.com as well as IamGrantReady.com. Cathy, is
Hmm.
there an email address where people can reach you?
Sure. You can do Cathy and that's Cathy with a C, as you see on the
Mm-hmm.
screen,
Mm-hmm.
at beawareandempower.com is probably the easiest
Yep.
way. And of course, always DM. I'm there. It's me.
Yes. Yes, fantastic. This was wonderful. Thank you so much, Cathy. I
My
look
pleasure.
forward to chatting with you again next month.
Yes.
Thanks everyone for tuning in. Make sure you go to beawareandempower.com or email Cathy at beawareandempower.com for more information. And then if you want to grab that checklist, make sure you go to iamgrantready.com to grab that free checklist. Thanks again, Cathy.
All right. You're
Have
welcome.
a great day.
Bye, all. You
Bye
too.
bye. Oh.